Welcome to MyShlaich Story Hour Chassidim series. Okay, Rabbi Yisai, this is more of like a bonus episode. We already finished the history and the story of Reb Mendel Futerfas, but I'd like to share with you in this episode a few different stories and Mesholim that Reb Mendel would share during his farbrengens. Like we mentioned earlier, Reb Mendel was known for being, amongst other things, a great storyteller. He knew how to share a good story, a good vart, that really left an impact on the people listening, that they should not only walk away from the farbrengen saying, it was a nice vart, but actually take action and change the way they live their lives for the better. One of the stories that Mendel would share was a story about a Yid. We're going to call him Gedalia. This Gedalia was a very, very rich man. Baruch Hashem, he had a large house with a lot of servants and a lot of cows and sheep and a large field. And he specialized in the mitzvah of giving tzedakah, and especially in the mitzvah of achnasas orchim. If somebody was passing by town, he would always invite them over to his house to stay and give them a warm meal and a warm bed to sleep in. And if he noticed the person had torn clothing, he would give them new clothing. And if you noticed the person had an old rickety broken down wagon, he would give them a new wagon and new horses. And when the person would pay or want to try to pay, no, don't give me any money. This is my tzedakah. This is my mitzvah. I don't want you to take it away from me. I don't want to sell the mitzvah. He loved the mitzvah of tzedakah. He loved the mitzvah of helping people, giving people something to eat, a place to stay, some warm clothes. This was Pashat Mechaya him. This is what gave him life. One time, the Alter Rebbe shows up in this person's house, in Gedalia's house, in his inn, dressed as a simple man. Somehow, Gedalia realized who the Alter Rebbe was, and later that evening, approaches the Alter Rebbe's room where the Alter Rebbe was staying, knocks on the door, and respectfully asks the Alter Rebbe for yichidus. The Alter Rebbe agrees, and Gedalia asks the Alter Rebbe the following question. Rebbe, what should I do? I feel that when I'm helping everybody, I'm doing it more for myself than I am for them. When I give somebody a place to stay, and I see the person is so farmatert and he's so tired and worn out, and he lays down on a nice, warm, comfortable bed with a cozy colder, with a cozy blanket, and a geshmak kish and a warm, fluffy pillow, and he wakes up the next morning refreshed, that smile on his face, that gives me gashmistic, tangible pleasure, geshmak. When I see somebody comes in with torn clothes and I give him a new shirt, the guy doesn't have a shirt, and if I don't have any other shirts in the closet, I take the shirt off my back and I give it to him, and I see he has a new shirt and he's happy, I feel good. Put the mitzvah on the side, I feel good. I give a guy a new wagon, a new horse, I'm enjoying it. Rebbe, he tells the Alter Rebbe, I feel that I'm doing the mitzvah more for myself than I am for the mitzvah. I feel like I'm doing it to make myself feel good than I am because the Rebbe has a geheißen and because the other person is benefiting from it. Is there a problem, Rebbe, with the way I am doing the mitzvah? So the Alter Rebbe thinks for a moment. And then the Alter Rebbe opens his eyes and tells him that for that person that is receiving the benefit from you, he's receiving it with an emes. The person that's getting it, he's receiving it wholeheartedly. For him, it's actually making a difference. And that's exactly the point. How you feel is not as important as it is to getting the job done. The person that you're helping, you're making an actual difference in this world. You're giving somebody that's hungry something to eat and now he's full. You feel you're doing it for yourself. Mach nicht das. The inyan was done. Sometimes we convince ourselves, I can't really do that. If I do this thing, I'm not doing it for the kavanah. I'm not doing it because the Rebbe wants, because the Rebbe wants. I'm doing it because it makes sense to me, because it feels good. And I don't want to be a selfish person and do things that make me feel good, so therefore I'm not going to do it. No! You're missing the point. The point is getting the job done. How I feel about it is secondary. which reminds me of a story the Gemara talks about, Rabbi Avohu. Zikin in the olden days, when the Tanoim and the Amoraim would speak, they would have what's called a Meturgeman. What's a Meturgeman? Meturgeman is from the word Targum, like translation, like Targum Onkelos, Targum Yenisam and Azil, to translate. A sage, a Tana, an Ameda, would usually speak like this, an old soft voice, a low voice. They didn't have microphones in those days. So because a sage often has low voices, they would have a meturgiman, like a microphone, so to say, a person, a manual microphone. The Tana, the Ameda, would give the shear over into the ear of this meturgiman. And the meturgiman, because he had a very big, loud, booming voice, he would then say it over to the rest of the class, to the rest of the yeshiva. So everybody would be able to hear. He would just chazer over what the Rosh Yeshiva was saying. So Rabbi Avohu had a meturgiman. Rabbi Avohu would tell him the shear in the ear, and then he would repeat it over in his loud, strong, booming voice to the rest of the yeshiva. One day, Mrs. Rabbi Avohu is in the marketplace, and she meets the wife of the meturgiman, of this translator, of this human microphone. And the wife of the meturgiman tells Rebbetzin Avohu, she says, "You think your husband Rabbi Avohu is really the big Talmid Chacham that is whispering the shir into my husband's ear so that he should repeat it to everybody else? Nonsense, not true. Your husband Rabbi Avohu, he's whispering gibberish, he's whispering nonsense in his ears. My husband, the meturgiman, he's the one really giving the shir. He only bends down to pretend to listen to your husband and show him respect because of the political connections that your husband has. But really, it's my husband, the meturgiman, who's the real Talmid Chacham." As a chutzpah, this is Rabbi Avohu comes running home. And she tells her husband, Rabbi Avohu, "You gotta fire this meturgiman. He's a bad guy. He's a no goodnik. He's a mechutzif. He's out to get your job. Get rid of him." Rabbi Avohu listens to his wife and says, "My dear wife, it's okay. Please calm down." He tells her, "The important thing is getting the job done between me and him. Together, through our efforts together, that Eibishter's name is being praised, that Eibishter's name is getting greater. The important thing is getting the job done, not who's getting the credit for it," he tells his wife. He wants to say he's giving the shir, so Zion, he's giving the shir. If that's what it takes, that more Yidden should learn Teda, should they have the Greiskeit from the Eibishter, fine. It's about getting the job done. This story that Mendel would share about the Alter Rebbe and this innkeeper, it's not about how you feel. It's about getting the job done. About how is it benefiting another Yid. That's one of the things that Mendel would fabring about. Here's another story that Mendel would fabring about. He would say, one time there was a doctor, let's call him Dr. Refoil, was riding on a train, and he bumps into a rabbi. We'll call him Reb Pinchas. And Dr. Refoil tells Reb Pinchas, "You know, I'm such a good doctor. I like to give so much stucke that if somebody comes to my office and they cannot pay me for the visit, they don't have insurance, I don't charge them any money for the visit." And Reb Pinchas says, "Oh, is that so? Me too, I also do that." Well, I got to think of a way that I'm better than this rabbi. Well, you know, Reb Pinchas, when somebody comes to my office, not only do I not charge them for the visit, if they can't pay for the medicine, I make sure they get the medicine for free too. Sometimes I'll even pay for the medicine also myself. And Reb Pinchas listens and he says, Yeah, Cher, I hear, me too, I also do that." "You also do that? What do you mean you also do that?" Well, actually, Reb Pinchas, it's not only that. I also, when somebody needs long-term care, let's say they need a helper in the house for a long time to take them to shul or to buy groceries, and they can't afford that, I also pay for that also. That's very expensive. And I make sure they don't have to pay me for that.
Ja, Ger, ich tue das echt. I also do that.
You also do that? What do you mean you also do that? I don't understand. You're not a doctor. You don't sell medicine. How could it be everything I say you do that also? I don't understand. So the rabbi responds,
Listen, Dr. Foyle, you're only saying all the good things you do. You're sharing that with other people. I also do that. Only the good things I do, I share with other people. But sometimes, there are things we don't want other people to know that I don't share with other people. Just like you. You're saying you do this, that's a good thing. There's good things I like to share too. You're saying you do that, that's a great thing. Me too. All my great things I share.
Everything that's good, that makes us look positive, we like to share. But then there are the things that we don't like to share. Things that make us a little bit embarrassed, a little bit verschämt. And sometimes it's a good thing. I was a bacher, they told me that those are the things, Dafke, you write to the Rebbe about. Those things which you don't want anyone to know. A real Chassid has open communication with the Rebbe, and the Rebbe knows everything that's going on in a Chassid's life. Another story that Mendel would share by Farbrengen was one time a group of Cossacks were these Russian goyim these Cossack, and they would travel from town to town, cause a lot of tzaras for the Yidden. A bunch of outlaws, terrible people. One time, a platoon of Cossacks came into a Yiddish shtetl on Erev Shabbos. They decided to stay in the shtetl overnight. They got shikir, they drank a lot of mashke and wine, and one of the Kosakim got so shikir that he fell into a very, very, very deep sleep. While he was sleeping, the rest of his Cossack friends got up, packed up their stuff, and continued traveling to the next town. By the time this Cossack, we'll call him Ivan, woke up, he realized, Oy vey, this problem, this calamity, I'm here all by myself. All of the other Cossacks have already proceeded on to the next town. How am I ever going to be catching up to them? Looking around for an idea how he could catch up to the other Cossacks, Ivan started to smell something delicious. And so he looks around where that smell is coming from. And as you can imagine, early on the Shabbos afternoon, what's the smell that fills every Yiddish house? The geschmackisch Schmeck von Cholent, the delicious smell of a nice hot cholent that was cooking a whole Friday night. So Ivan goes, he takes the cholent pot, nice and hot, and places it on the saddle on top of the horse. Because the pot is so hot, the horse will feel the heat. It's a shtickle tzar b'lachayim, actually, if you think about it. But he was a guy, so didn't really think about that. The heat of the cholent pot will cause the horse to start running. And because it's going to run so fast, he'll be able to catch up to the rest of the platoon. And sure enough, he places the cholent pot on the back of the horse. The horse starts running because he feels he's getting burnt by the cholent pot. And his plan worked. Very soon he caught up to the rest of the platoon. However, the horse didn't stop there. It kept going. Ivan is trying to schmeiss the horse. Stop! I'm telling you to be stopping right now. But he's not listening. The horse kept going, and he's carrying him straight into the enemy camp. I assume that some of the Cossacks didn't get along with each other. They were probably having a territorial dispute. In any event, the horse takes this Cossack Ivan straight into the territory of their enemy. The enemy soldiers see this horse approaching at very, very fast pace, and they were terrified by the swift Cossack horse. So they right away jumped out of the way and started running in all directions to get away from the speeding horse. To the Cossacks, it was just a shtickle cholent that helped them win the victory over their enemies. They all ran away. But Mendel Futerfas says, I learned a very important lesson. When a Yid has a fire within him, a godly fire, a ruchnistic fire, a chayis, a bren, then even one single person can win over many, many negative forces. Just like this one horse with a fire on its back is able to charge through the enemy camp. Reb Mendel says if a Yid has a fire, if a Chassid has the fire, the chayis, the bren of Chassidishkeit within him, a varmkeit, then regardless of what tzaris or what nisyenis or what difficulties the Yetzer Hara might try to put in his way, the fire will help him push through. And to do that, kindalach, it's important that we have our own avodah, that we put in the work, we do the effort on our own, and not just relying on somebody else to do it for us, or just relying on our last name, or relying on our yichis. That's all nice and good. But the person that has to get the job done, the person that's going to bring Mashiach, is you, and only you. Reb Mendel would share the story that there was a person that wanted to meet a very, very big gvir, very big balabos, a paritz. This paritz was a paritz in the neighboring city. He owned a lot of land. And the simple person, let's call him Zamvel, he wanted to go meet the paritz. But Zamvel looks like a little shlemazel clown. He can't just roll up to the paritz's house. So Zamvel goes, he saves up some money, he buys a very fancy tuxedo, and a fancy bow tie, and a fancy shirt, and fancy shoes, and a big top hat. And he makes his way over to the house, the big palace of the paritz. What did Zamvel actually do in his free time? He was no fancy guy like he looks like today. He used to go around fifing. He was a fifer. He would go around whistling all day and all night. It's not something that we generally do, even though sometimes by a farbrengen, you would see the Rebbe tells the Chassidim to whistle, but Chassidim whistle specifically when the Rebbe says that the Chassidim should whistle. Going around fifing stamazay is not something that a Chassid does. But this Zamvel the Pfeiffer shows up at the house of the paritz. The guard asks him, "Who are you?" "Who am I?" "Heh, my Zayda was such an important paritz. He was such a gvir. He owned so many houses and so many fields." "But who are you?" the guard asks again. "Me? Heh, do you know who my uncle is? My uncle, he owns a big factory in this town." "I don't understand." "I asked, who are you?" The guard yells at him again. "Who are you?" "Oh, me? I'm Zamvel the Pfeiffer." "Zamvel the Pfeiffer? Zamvel the Whistler? And you want to come see the paritz? Listen to me, Mr. Zamvel. I don't care who your Zayda was. It doesn't make a difference who your uncle is. You are what matters. You are just a whistling person, and the paritz has no time for people like you." Mendel Futerfas would say the story as an example and say, Rabbi Isai, Schus Avis is very important. Yichis is very important. It's important to know who our Zaydis and our Babis were, the towns that they come from, our Elta Zaydis, and to learn about them, to cherish that. But to go around saying, because my Zayda is so-and-so, with such a big shliach, with such a big rav, with such a big chassid, and because my family is shluchim all over the world, what does that have to do with you? What matters is you. It's true that if your Zayda was a chassid, and you come from a family of shluchim, and this and that, yeah, it maybe helps you, sets you up on the right way in your Avodas Hashem. But man kennt sich nicht verlassen auf andere. It's not about what other people did or who other people are. At the end of the day, like we spoke, it's about getting the job done. And you are the only person that can get the job done. You're the only one that can bring Mashiach. Kennt sich nicht verlassen auf andere Menschen. Who are you? Wer bist du? Reb Mendel Futerfas used to say that there are 3 levels in friendship, one higher than the next. Sometimes you can have a friend who will try to help you if they hear that, you have a challenge, you're experiencing something that's a challenge, you call him up. He's like, sure, I'll help you get through whatever your difficulty is right now. That's the first level of a friend. You tell them what your problem is, and they come and help you. Then there is a friend with whom you share all your challenges and all your shortcomings. And even though you told them that I have this problem and that problem, and I struggle here and I struggle there, and they know was tut sich bei euch, they know what's going on by you, they're still your friend. They still see you for the person who you are, and not the shortcomings, not the difficulties. But then there's a third level of a friend, a third kind of a friendship. That there are moments when a person is feeling down, he's not feeling well, he's feeling sad, that his head is spinning, and he cannot seem to find the menucha, he can't find peace, he can't find rest, he's very confused. And the person is walking around in the streets, and he's in a daze, he doesn't know whether he's coming or going. And then he turns a corner and bumps into his friend. And all of a sudden, his mood totally changes. And all the problems that he was experiencing suddenly disappear. That type of person, a person that can do that, that's a true friend. And Reb Mendel would say, this is a friendship that we should feel to every person. To every person when we meet them. We should be so excited and so thrilled to have an encounter, to have a meeting with another Yid, that any tzadis, any problem that we felt that we had, or anything that was making us sad, goes away as soon as we have the experience, as soon as we have the opportunity to come in contact with another Yid. Now, versteht sich, this is a very high Aveda. Like we said, the story when Reb Mendel met somebody outside 770 that wasn't from Russia, right? And he was from London, so he says, I'm from London. And Reb Mendel said, where does it say that if you're from London, you shouldn't have Avos Yisrael towards him, you shouldn't love him? Every Yid, every single Yid, you have to have this experience. Now, sometimes the Rebbe writes in Hayom Yom that Avos Yisrael is to someone, even to someone that you never met. Sometimes, Chaver, that can be easier to have Avos Yisrael to someone we never met than somebody we do know. I never met him. He never did anything wrong to me. Let's try to apply that to our brother, to our sister, to our classmate, to our bunkmate, to our father, mother, the Chevra in the Chabad house, the Chevra that we do meet, the Chevra that we do know. To those Chevra that have this kind of level of Avos Yisrael, of friendship, that when we see them, we say Shalom Aleichem to them. Anything that was bothering us before disappears. That's true Avos Yisrael. That's true Avos Yireim. It's true Avos Achim. And it's true Achdus and Avos Chassidim. And that's what's going to bring Mashiach.